The Electoral College officially voted today to make Joe Biden the next president of the United States, but President Trump and the Republican Party are still engaged in a desperate attempt to dismantle our democracy. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. As bleak as things are right now, today was a truly historic day that provided at least a few glimmers of hope. This morning, we witnessed the first non-trial COVID vaccines administered to frontline healthcare workers. And man, I never thought I'd be so happy to see someone get a shot. This must be what it felt like watching the moon landing. It was a historic scientific achievement that you just know a bunch of idiot jabronis are going to say was faked. That wasn't real. Stanley Kubrick shot that. Stanley Kubrick is dead. Yeah, that's what they want you to think. And of course, Trump and his allies couldn't help but rush to claim credit for this medical breakthrough.
Why does it seem that Joe Biden is trying to take credit for this vaccine? And don't you think we should call it the Trump vaccine, given everything that he's done?
Do they not realize the vaccine is always named after the disease? The polio vaccine, the measles vaccine. If you call it the Trump vaccine, that would mean, well, okay. Yeah, okay. They should definitely call it that. Trump has done everything he can to help spread the disease, and when he had the chance to order more vaccine, he passed on it. I doubt he even knows how a vaccine works. I would bet a year's salary that without assistance and out of context, if he saw the word vaccine, he would pronounce it vaccini. I like my vaccini with clams. That's why I'm not getting it in the first wave. I'm waiting for the clams. One time he went up to the CDC and held a printout of a coronavirus particle like a hungover college sophomore who forgot to do a science project. Another time he asked scientists and vaccine makers at the White House if they could use a flu vaccine to cure coronavirus.
You take a solid flu vaccine, you don't think that would have an impact or much of an impact on corona?
No. Probably not. Probably not.
So, for a guy who loves to surround himself with yes men, Trump backs down very easily when you tell him no. Could you use a flu vaccine for this? No, I was also a no. Just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. Second question, what about that giant needle they used in Pulp Fiction, you know? The one Vinnie Barbarito put into Uma Thurman? I want you guys to go first, because I think I know the answer. It really is a cult of personality. Trump spends the majority of his time golfing and tweeting at the TV, and yet his supporters think he's some sort of unsung hero who's sacrificed everything for the good of his country. I mean, listen to how unhinged and detached from reality these people are.
I just feel for the president. I see the pain and the frustration. You do everything you're supposed to do. You run the country well. You campaign your heart out while the other guy's in a basement. And then in the end, fraud and shenanigans at the local level, you're robbed.
The only pain and frustration Trump has ever experienced is throwing his back out after shanking a drive on a par 4. That's why he's permanently hunched. His bone structure is morphed from spending most of his time at a golf tee. He has what's known as fairway spine. Also, Trump has done everything he's supposed to do. I don't think any human being has done everything I'm supposed to do. I mean, sure, we have a good show tonight, but did I call the guy about the water softener? No. Why? Because secretly, I don't want to. So the vaccine was the first glimmer of hope. Then just a short time after that, the Electoral College met to officially choose Joe Biden as the next president. So now the Electoral College has made it official, and on top of that, the Trump dead-enders have lost about 60 court cases, including 2 at the Supreme Court and several involving judges appointed by Trump. And yet, they're still actively engaged in an attempt to subvert our democracy by throwing out the votes of millions of Americans simply because they don't like who won the election.
You were talking about disenfranchising the 10 million Biden voters who supported the president-elect in those 4 states. Do you feel comfortable throwing out millions of votes of your fellow Americans?
Well, nobody wants any votes thrown out, Chris. If you look at the Texas lawsuit, what it was saying is there are some states that didn't follow the laws that were on their books. The Constitution is very clear that it's state legislatures that set the process for having electors.
With all due respect, sir, the Supreme Court
changed those rules.
The Supreme Court threw that out. They didn't even hear it.
The Supreme Court said they weren't going to take the case. They said Texas didn't have standing. They said Texas didn't have standing. They didn't say they were going to address the merits. Look, the Supreme Court, I think a lot of people know, didn't want to be anywhere near this.
Yeah, they didn't want to be anywhere near this. What does that tell you? Even the extreme conservatives, including 3 Trump appointees, didn't want to be anywhere near this thing because it was too crazy. They were all happy to go with Trump to TP the principal's house, but when he said, now should we go in and kill him? He had to know they were going to back out. And then today, Trump advisor Stephen Miller went on Fox and Friends to insist that just because the Electoral College was voting doesn't mean the effort to steal the election was over.
We have more than enough time to right the wrong of this fraudulent election result and certify Donald Trump as the winner of the election. If we win these cases in the courts, that we can direct that the ultimate slate of electors be certified. The state legislatures in Georgia, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania can do the same. And likewise, Congress has that opportunity as well. There were millions of ballots that were cast in violation of plain state law, federal law, the U.S. Constitution. You have underage voters. You have voters with felony criminal records who are disqualified from voting in their states. You have non-residents. You have non-citizens. You have voters who are deceased.
First of all, none of that is true. Second, of course Miller thinks there are dead voters because he is a dead voter. Technically undead. He came into existence when a Charles Adams drawing was struck by lightning. Just to be clear, what he's saying there is that Congress and state legislatures should step in and overturn an election in which 7 million more Americans voted for Biden than Trump. You know, the rest of us have had to put up with multiple elections in which a Republican lost the popular vote and became president. Something tells me the Republicans would not have been as compliant had it gone the other way. They probably would have formed a ring around the White House, Red Rover style. These guys want to shred the legal votes of millions of Americans just because they disagree with democracy, and yet Trump just keeps lying and insisting that he must have won.
I'm president of the United States. I just got 75 million votes. I got 75 million, and they say I lost. I didn't lose. The election was rigged.
First of all, he got a little over 74 million. Second, it's terrifying, but also a little hilarious that Trump keeps asking how he could have lost with 74 million votes, ignoring the remedial math answer that his opponent got 81 million votes. I mean, what was he like in school? Now, if one train is traveling at 120 miles per hour, I'm going to stop you right there. That train wins. I don't even want to hear about another train. Do you know how fast 120 miles per hour is? That's cheetah fast. Well, Donald, the second train is traveling at 130 miles per hour. But why are we hearing about this second train now? Because when everyone heard about this first train, fast train, 120 miles per hour, they all started congratulating that train. And then in the middle of the night, all of a sudden, there's a second train. And now the first train is... I don't think so. I don't think so. Are you done, Donald? I am done. Did I get another F? Be straight with me. So this is what the president and his allies in the Republican Party are obsessively focused on. Meanwhile, we're currently in a national catastrophe that's unprecedented in our lifetimes, and it's only getting worse. Even with the hope of a vaccine on the horizon, we're facing months of hardship and pain. The Trump-appointed CDC director said on Friday they were facing a daily death toll that will exceed Pearl Harbor and 9/11 every day for the next 2 to 3 months. And here's how the normally mild-mannered governor of New Jersey put it on Sunday.
For all the good news, the light at the end of the tunnel, and the vaccine exemplifies that as much as anything, the next number of weeks are going to be hell.
It's not good when you see a politician who's normally as subdued as Murphy say we're about to go through hell. It's like having your accountant do your taxes and say, okay, let's just add in your state and local tax liability, plus your property taxes and your income taxes, and I don't want to forget about your payroll taxes, and it looks like, yeah, So a warning like that from a guy like Murphy is chilling, and for good reason. ICUs are filling up across the country. We have over 100,000 Americans in the hospital as we speak, 200,000 new cases every day, and over 300,000 dead. And on top of that, we're watching a crushing economic crisis take hold, with millions of Americans facing unemployment, eviction, and hunger, including millions of families with children. Forget being president, any decent, compassionate, sane human being is asking themselves right now, what can I do to help? Whether it's donating to a food bank or checking in on your vulnerable friends and neighbors, or just doing everything you can personally to stay safe and stop the spread of the disease. And yet the president is obsessively focused on two things: plunging the country into an unprecedented political crisis that would end our democracy as we know it, and whacking divots at his golf course like he's trying to put a dying quail out of its misery. The less you move, the sooner this is over, quail. But I'm so glad you're able to squeeze some leisure time into your packed schedule of scream tweeting insane conspiracy theories and showing up to the Army-Navy game without a mask like a walking one-man Chernobyl. Even Bane had the decency to show up to a foot. It's just getting better. Shoe? My Bane's getting better. What did I say? Oh, well, I think both work. Seriously. I will bring you to your knees, Shoemaker. Seriously, if you famously had coronavirus and were at the epicenter of multiple high-profile outbreaks, you might want to consider wearing a mask around other people. At this point, getting close to Trump is like playing 7 Minutes in Heaven with the monkey from Outbreak. Oh, right. I always forget it's one of those small squirrel-ass monkeys. I'll confess, whenever I remember that movie, I picture a chimpanzee. Trump can choose any day to urge Americans, and especially his supporters, to stay home and listen to public health officials. He could be leading the charge for an aid package to help the millions of Americans who are suffering right now. Instead, he's golfing and telling insane stories to Fox News.
When I took over, we had a depleted military. We had no ammunition. I'll never forget a very overrated general coming to see me and saying, "Sir, we have no ammunition." But we have it totally rebuilt, and our nuclear is now tippy-top. I just hope to God you never have to use it.
Ah, yes, that well-known military term, tippy-top. Whenever Trump is talking about something technical he doesn't know anything about, he sounds like Mrs. Doubtfire pretending to be British. Oh, want to fill the teacup with the sugar all the way to the tippy top. Can you imagine Trump in the Situation Room surrounded by generals deciding whether to launch a nuke? Sir, the Russians have initiated a launch sequence. Should we respond with the ICBMs and the B-52s? Neither. Tell them we'll be launching the tippy tops. Now, if you need me, I'll be in my bunker peeing my jammy jams. Also, why did he say that he learned this from an overrated general? Trump hates people so much that even when it would help him make his point, he undermines their credibility. Yes, detective, I have an alibi for the night of the murder. Call Lion Eddie Exaggerations. This guy should be treated like a dog. So dishonest. Lion Eddie! He knows where I was last night. And why does he keep repeating the lie that the military was out of ammunition when he took office? In Trump's mind, we had Navy warships patrolling international waters armed with nothing more than T-shirt cannons. Captain, the enemy ship is getting closer. Well, it's your unlucky day, you sons of bitches, because I assure you, y'all not ready for this. Fire! 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 Virtually the entirety of the Republican Party and right-wing media apparatus are engaged in a coordinated effort to end democracy in the United States amid an unprecedented public health crisis they refuse to deal with. It's an unhinged authoritarian movement from the bottom all the way up to the
tippy top.
This has been A Closer Look. God's Love We Deliver cooks and brings over 2 million meals a year to men, women, and children living with. Watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe, wash your hands, wear a mask. We love you.